So shout out to people who have pushed me to use this technology. So we had originally thought to have this conversation around what it is to actually be in right relationship with Black people, particularly Black women. Is that is a perspective that we are speaking from. And we know there's been some events that have happened within the last 24 hours. And I believe, some speeches are happening right now as we speak. So we do have to acknowledge that. But knowing we are going to touch on it a little bit,
because we've decided that we're going to give that a proper longer conversation, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. We are going to go deep at another time. But I think one of the strangest parts about this current moment in time has been this: how to be an anti-racist. Here are all the book lists. Here are, all the feelings and the tears and the guilt and the, discovery. And I feel like if you had a friendship, intimate relationship, any trusting level of trust with a Black woman, then this isn't new to you, and you wouldn't have felt this level of shock and all.
And not only that, but if you had a real relationship with Black people and Black women specifically, that wasn't transactional. Right? Because that's part of the problem. So if Black people only exist as ornaments and objects at the job, and they're just people who you work with, this, that, and a third, of course the last 2-3 months might have been jarring and unsettling. However, if you are in deep engagement with Black people, the last 2-3 months are unsettling to you on a different level, because that these are your loved ones being harmed. Exactly. As opposed to just those people who you just so happen to be in society with. So it's been, I know we've discussed it, it's been a mixed bag of how the white people in our lives, both intimate and peripherally, have been responding.
Which brings us to one of Lucy and I's favorite topics, which is: how is it that we can have a very rich, diverse, well-developed cadre of white women and non-Black POC women and others in our lives, but y'all are sharing the same 2 Black friends?
Come on, somebody. And again, let's really, because we know obviously we're living our lives on the internet. Lots of people could be watching this conversation right now. But specifically for those people who live in South Florida is a pretty Black city. It's not Atlanta Black. However, I'm interested to see at the end of this decade, will it be Atlanta Black? Because what we're understanding about Black migration is that we have a huge influx of Black Caribbean folks coming to South Florida, and not to mention Black people, African Americans all across the United States who are, doing the reverse migration, coming back south. Coming back south. And so there's a way in which Miami is pretty Black. And so if someone was born and raised in Miami, or you've been here for a long time and you have no deep engagement, no deep friendships with Black people, how is that possible, number one? And number two, what I've been realizing is that these white people, these progressives, these South Florida folks, they're all sharing the same Black women. It's me, it's you, it's Fran, it's some other folks I won't name, and that's it. But yet, when I check in with you and my other Black homegirls, and we talk about the white women we're building with and we're close with, our white women don't overlap.
Very rarely. Very, very rarely.
So what's going on? Tell me what you think.
So, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts. This has been a topic of many conversations, but I think one thing is that folks really, really, really need to sit with their anti-Blackness and really need to unpack it and do the actual work. So it's not, I don't care if you read a book, honestly. Like I read a lot. I definitely share content, but the real unpacking is actually sitting, if you're listening to this conversation right now and you're like, oh snap, actually, I don't have more than 2 Black friends. And yeah, looking at the larger group of friends that I have, they're pretty much the same people. Then then what you need to do is figure out why. And the why is like, where are you hanging out? Where are you, if you are religious, where are your places of worship? Who are the people in your places of worship? Where are your kids going to school? Who are the parents that you're not engaging with? If your kids are going to a fairly diverse school, which is already freaking Mission Impossible in South Florida, then like, who are you ignoring when you're in a room? People in Miami love to go out. People in Miami love to network, always looking for the next spot. Do you drive more than 20 minutes outside of your neighborhood? Because as myself, drive everywhere from Boca to Homestead. I do not let distance stop me from interacting and building with the people that I love. So, go ahead.
So, okay, so when I want us to like, okay, so doing the work is this amorphous title and thing that we say a lot. So so in your opinion, could you unpack the whole doing the work? Because here's the thing. So, okay, so last week I hit publish on my newsletter around the different Karens, right? And there is a way in which there are white people who appear to be in relationship with a lot of Black folks. They're always pictured with people. They're making sure that they have the right photo op. They make sure that they're on the panels with the right kind of Black people. They'll even invite you to be in these certain spots and places. Sure. But at the end of the day, it's just like, they're not checking in on our humanity. So when I say doing the work, is like, even the whole concept of friends, who are your actual friends? And to me, a friend is someone who, if something great happens in your life, who are the 3, maybe the 5 people you're gonna call? If you found out your babe cheated on you right now, this moment, who you calling to help pick your heart off the floor and to help you mess up their shit, right? So when I'm talking about friends, I'm talking about friends, not people at work, right? And so my thing is doing the work in regards to like, are your relationships deep? Do you see Black people as people who can be your friends in outside of a transactional way? Because sometimes I feel as if, and that there are white people in my life, I know why they're engaging with me. It's very transactional. And I get it. We live in a capitalist society and I'm gonna engage in the transaction, but it's just like, well, you're not getting one over on me. I know what you're doing. I see what you're doing. And then there are my white friends who are really invested in my humanity. I don't only hear from them when there is a Black person died. However, when a Black person does die, they're not calling me to assuage their guilt. They're calling me to be in the hurt with me, which is radically different than getting these guilty, shameful texts and engagement.
Like, I can't believe this happened. So when I say and that digs into this like right relationship, and I say right relationship because we know what a good relationship is. We know what a bad relationship is. We know what red flags are. We know what green flags are. And these are universal, regardless of the type of relationship that you have. So if you know that, like, are you emotionally supportive? Do you see Black people in your life as full human beings who can have a range of emotions, who can have a range of politics, who can have a range of issues and actually live in the gray area? And I think that's where I'm just operating from in this last 24 hours of like, I have a lot of mixed feelings. And guess what? I don't need anybody lecturing me on my feelings, because guess what? They're feelings. So the fact that, like, an example of not being in right relationship with a Black person is if they're feeling some type of way in this moment about Kamala Harris and you feel the need to lecture them, yeah, you're not their friend. If they are loving the fact that Kamala Harris is a choice and you want to drop links about Kamala Harris's record on their page, then you're not in right relationship with them. Because people should be able to feel however they want to feel without your 2 cents, without your approval, without your control. And also, it's exhausting.
It not only that, and also it if you are the white person who's trying, who is cruising your feed and trying to place articles on your Black friends' walls or comments about Kamala, whether pro or against, the assumption you're making is as if there are not critical, brilliant, genius Black people who are also part of the pundit class, who are pro and against, and who are out there already making the nuanced arguments on why Black people are for this person and why Black people are not for this person, and why there are some Black people in the middle with a question mark. You're just making a lot of assumptions as if we are not part of this country, we don't have political calculations, and we don't have ideas
or
whether
agency.
Good. So again, it's like that plantation logic, right? It's just like constantly wanting to police, constantly wanting to police the gathering of Black people, whether it be digitally, whether it be physically, and always wanting to assert yourself in your whiteness. And you're right, this is what it means not to be in right relationship, because guess what? When there are conversations about other races and ethnicities happening, I take the observer position.
Yeah, exactly.
I take the observer stance and just like,
never enters my mind.
Right. This is an intra-community dialogue that just so happens to be happening in a public space. I need to be weighing in. What I do need to do is follow the conversation, follow the hot take, so to make sure I never thought about it in this way. Maybe there's whatever. But again, people don't think Black people are people. It's like we're their societal pets, and they constantly have to check in on us to make sure that we're doing the right thing. We're doing the right thing, and we haven't wandered too far off of the boundaries. It's just like
So to know me is to know that I love Bravo. I watch all things Bravo. Except for that Christy show. I really don't understand that. Anyway, there's maybe 2 shows out of the entire network that I don't watch. That said, they made the bold move. I think it's bold because if you watch Bravo, you know there are not many Black people on there. To have a racial conversation, a full hour and a half on Sunday, which is their primetime spot, okay? This is after the Real Housewives of Potomac. And people are waiting for Real Housewives of Potomac.
Okay.
So I had, in all the promos, there were all Black people in the promos. There in fact ended up being 2 white housewives on the show. So I watched it in morbid curiosity. I'm like, how mad am I gonna be after watching this thing? Surprisingly, what happens when you, trust Black women, let Black talent actually dictate the conversation, they hit the nail right on the head. And one nugget that this is reminding me of, long-winded way to say, is one of the Married to Medicine characters from LA. She's an anesthesiologist, and she said, white people feel like they are the manager of all Black people. I said, I need to write that down. Because there's never been this whole issue of Karen, this whole issue of, it's let me speak to the manager of Black people. This whole vigilante justice, this whole reporting to 911. All of this is because there is this plantation mentality of the Blacks are going to run amok if we don't keep them in check, and we have to supervise them. I'm the supervisor. There is this inherent feeling of I am the supervisor of all Black people. And it's pretty insidious, even with more so with liberal white folks, because obviously I don't come in contact with rabid Republicans, so I am in conversation in whatever. And you're absolutely right. Y'all know I do this anti-racist thing, and I do the social justice doula thing, and obviously since the death of George Floyd, there's been a lot of inquiries. Even when white liberals are inquiring about my services, it's very much on some, I would like to speak to the manager of racism, and they treat me like I am the waitress of anti-racism. It's but I ordered. It's just the way how white people engage, the questions they ask, the things of that nature. And again,
I want to caution what I'm saying, because obviously white people do have a place in anti-racism. And what I'm realizing in my work with white people is like, y'all are really confused about what to do and how to move in anti-racism spaces, because y'all gotten very conflicting directions from social media from Black folks. So I want you all to really, the white people who are watching and listening, I really want you to really exercise your nuance muscle on what I'm about to say. There is an anti-racist way to engage a Black woman on her anti-racist work. Like this sense of urgency. The sense of urgency is an impulse of a characteristic of white supremacy. So you can't come to me, because guess what, boo? You can't possibly want to solve white supremacy more than I do. You are not more invested, you are not more excited than I am. But there is a way in which the questions get framed and how I get engaged. It's like, waitress. I would like to order some anti-racism. Where are you with my order? And it's just like,
and you didn't serve it to me in the way that I wanted, because God forbid your tone, you're not nice enough, you're not being gentle enough with me, you're not being understanding when that is not my job.
So that's part of the right relationship. It's just like,
and you can't assume, you cannot, and this is the other thing, is that what it brings up for me is you cannot expect your Black friends to be the racism experts to then guide you through this. Because guess what? Black people get it wrong too. Like there are people who go to, there's there are people who go to school for this. Right. There are people who are experts, and there are people who have lived experience. There is not, I don't want to say there isn't a hierarchy of which is more valid. I think that just like everything else, there is nuance, and there are strengths and there are weaknesses, and it is still not your job or even a right expectation to have for you to think that Black people are going to check you if they're your friend. That's my free time. I'm not trying to do, are you trying to do that on your free time? Because I'm not.
I'm glad you say that, because the white people who I'm very intimate with, those are the people who I talk to and I check with. The white people who I'm casually friends with, and I guess newsflash, if you are my friend, like I will probably let some shit that you do ride, because it's not that deep, because like, again, we're friends. And also it's just so much. So here's what I want to say. Friendships, relationships, however, we don't exist to heal one another. The byproduct of a good relationship, a healthy relationship, a relationship that's rooted in right relationship, the byproduct of that is that we heal. So what do I mean by that? Meaning, if you're friends with Black people for the sole purpose that they have to teach you how to be a better white person, then you need to get a coach. You need to get a consultant. Your friendships with Black people should not exist for that. Now, if you are in a good, deep relationship with a Black person, the byproduct of that is that you are going to work out racial issues. You are going to have talks about racial issues. And both of you are your consciousness around race and how to make race and how to make anti-racist relationships and how to make solidarity within each other. The byproduct of that, those things will happen. But I'm not friends with my white friends as I'm some anthropologist. So I'm taking notes on white people. So I know what to do, this, that, and the third. That is not the white women who are really close to me, who I love and who I cry to, who cry with me and who help hold my humanity. They don't exist for that reason. And they don't make me feel that I exist for that reason for them. We're legit being friends. And part of friendships is that current events come up, and when racist stuff happens, I'm able to call them and tell them and talk to them about it, and we could just be with that, like a regular friendship. None of my close friends make me feel like I'm their social justice doula. On the contrary, none of them make me feel like I'm clocking in to do race work with them. Now, is racial work getting done? Absolutely, but all relationships, there's labor, and so as I'm teaching them how to love me and they're teaching me how to love them, race and racism is going to come up naturally.
And I think, again, and so when we say white, we also, just to clarify, do not just mean Caucasian people. We mean all non-Black people or non-indigenous people.
You talking about the white Latinx folks?
Yes. I mean, like, just be clear. So if you think you are exempt from this conversation, you are not, most likely.
Okay, Shady McGrady.
So no, I mean, and here's the thing is that's one of the things about living in South Florida is that folks want to give themselves a pass because they feel like, oh, well, because I am from X country or because I identify as X, that it doesn't apply to me. And it does. And again, this is why we're focusing this conversation on friendships, because this is where you really see your values in action.
Yes.
You see how you treat people in a non-work, non-transactional setting tells you who you are as a person.
Because, okay, so I was watching a talk that Brene Brown was being interviewed by a group of women, and she said something that I have been like really thinking about. She says, if you don't live a diverse life, you can't lead a diverse team. So this is why so many people struggle with like, oh my God, there are no black people. I built this thing, there are no black people. Or I built this thing, there are no like visibly brown people. There are this, that, and a third. Why? Because we don't exist in your private life in that way. And so even when you are a white person, you're a manager, you're a supervisor or whatever, you struggle to attend to the humanity of the non-white people on your team, because you don't have a practice of seeing those people's humanity in your private life. Because here, what's that joke? You got black friends? Show me your wedding pictures.
So here's what. Hello. So the as you like to say, so the issue is for you to be in authentic relationships, in authentic friendships, it requires a level of vulnerability. And having a level of vulnerability requires that you actually see somebody's full humanity. And having that vulnerability builds trust. So if Black people do not trust you, that is universal. That will show up in all of the arenas in your life.
Girl, say more about that. You done hit something. Tell me more.
So, I mean, I just think of if something really bad happens to me, if I'm in a particularly traumatizing or compromising situation, there are people, just like with anybody, like there are people who I will tell and there are people who I will not tell. And because I don't think they can, be emotionally supportive for me. I don't think that they will be helpful in finding a solution. Are you a person who, when you hear something, shifts blame to the person who's telling you? Are you a person who, when listening to the situation, does basically goes through a straw man argument and tries to deconstruct the story, knowing that you're literally challenging somebody's experience, right? If those are your go-tos, or are you a person who never wants to give anybody else space and only want to have an emotional support animal, basically, not an actual human being to be in a reciprocal friendship with?
The gospel.
So
Tina Bettina, preach the gospel.
So if you are not able to do those things, then how do you think that's going to show up for you as a manager, as a founder, as a coworker, as an intimate partner, as a family member? Because also we're gonna have to have a whole other conversation of just because you have Black children does not mean that you have any type of analysis. Because again, are you actually going to be there for them and be able to hold them emotionally or protect them? And this is friendships there is a level of caring and support and trust that needs to be there, or you're not that's what an authentic relationship are and is to me. And I think of the people in my life that are from a wide variety, a very diverse background, whether it's socioeconomically, politically, racially, gender, expression, all of the things. And the common thread is I have friendships with people who can be there for me and who I can be my full self with. If people cannot be their full self with you, they're not your friend. And if you do have Black people in your life and they have not expressed any trauma or harm to you, then you are not their friend.
Right. And I'm not saying that crying is a barometer, but
it's not even tears. It's anger. It's
rage.
Exactly. It's the richness of emotion.
Exactly. So if your Black homegirl has never come to you and been help me hold this pain, this anger, these tears, or whatever, fam, y'all not as close as you think you are. And I want to go back to the point that you made. There is a way, because Black people were trafficked and stolen and brought to this country, and Black women were forced to breed and be mammies. There is a way that white liberals, especially white women who are friends with Black women, they only see us as their emotional support animals. That's it.
And it's, we have such a magical skill. How is it that I always feel like I can bring these things to you? I don't know how you can always bring these things to me. I do wonder. The Black girl magic is not to be able to solve your problems. Like that's not what it's about.
Okay. So now we're getting to the crux, because again, I call it the magical Negro syndrome. So this way in which people put you in their, like, you're their personal life coach, and it's just like, no, girl,
and that's a job, and with there's pay involved. Our goal is not trying to do some free labor.
But at the same time, it's just, and especially, and I will talk as a Black woman who's not thin. I think it's very easy to get mammified when you're not thin. There's a way in which everyone thinks that your big breast is for them to come lay themselves, come into my bosom, and there's a way. And so it is that misogynoir mixing with that fat phobia, mixing with that anti-Blackness. So it's just like, okay, you larger size Black woman, of course you exist to be my emotional support animal. Of course you exist to be my personal trainer, my personal life coach, this, that, and the third. And it's just like, and the thing about it is, what white people don't understand, because some of them don't really give thought to how brilliant and genius we are. Like, boo, I know this. And for whatever reason, I don't say anything. And there's a litany of reasons why I don't say anything. But I notice.
What will that bring? And
I notice. And my white friends who I'm really cool with, we talk shit about you and be like, let me tell you what your cousin did. Like Lindsay, my homegirl. I always be calling, I said, Lindsay, girl, let me tell you what your cousin did today. And she was like, oh my God, tell me what my people did. And I was just like, just white woman, So the thing about it is, there's this assumption as if Black folks don't understand the game. And again, we live in an anti-Black society. I have several strategies on how I need to survive. And sometimes even the anti-racist educator and whatever, there are casually racist things that do happen inside of my relationships with white people that I don't care to say anything about, because I deserve a break.
Time for that. Right.
I deserve a break.
Nothing.
I deserve a break. And so if you are white and you're listening and you're watching and you think, well, clearly I can't be problematic because the Black people in my life never said anything, it could be because the Black people in your life don't care enough to tell you anything. Because guess what? The white people who I do care about, you best believe if they do something, we having a conversation, we having a circle, we crying about it. I'm talking to everybody and their mama. I'm like, oh my God, so-and-so did this to me. What does this mean? This, that, and the third. Why? Because I love them. They love me, and there's real love. And if we're not friends anymore, guess what? I'm gonna feel a kind of way. Meanwhile, other than you, I know you only come to me for the transactional shit. I go to you for the transactional shit. So when you do, it is. When you do some stuff that's racist, I'm like, how racist is this? Do I really want to have do I really want to say anything? And I'm like, no. I take it to my therapist. I take it to my other friends, or I throw it out with the trash at the end of the day.
Listen, there is so I'm just saying that there's a lot of preaching and clapping and snapping in the chat. So if I keep on looking, that's because I'm checking the chat.
Are people asking questions?
No, they're just getting the gospel today.
Okay.
So I just think, I also want to make this clear that here's the thing. As a person who has had non-Black friends my literal entire existence, being friends with white people or non-Black people does not feel like work to me. It like this, because I know that there's this perception of like, oh, I don't want to bother you or put this on you, and like right in this moment of.
Can I tell you how much I hate that comment? Can I tell you how much I hate it? I hate it.
Like, I'd rather you be real with me, because that's what I want, is a real relationship with you. or not. And I like, if I don't have the mental bandwidth, I will tell you I don't have the mental bandwidth. We will be fine. I'm not going to be like, how dare you put like, you know, this on me. I mean, I have language skills. I can communicate my feelings just like I expect you to communicate your feelings. So it doesn't, again, when you actually show up the right way in an emotionally supportive, authentic, vulnerable way, none of it feels like work. Nope. I don't feel like, again, I'm thinking of 3 white women in my life right now that never feels like work. We've talked about everything. Like when shit pops off, definitely get a text of like, hey, how are you feeling? What is the real about this? Because A plus B is not equaling C. Like there's a curiosity, or there's I kind of agree with this, or whatever. Like there is a realness. So it doesn't feel like, oh man, so-and-so texted me, now I have to go give them the history of Blackness 101. It does not feel that way. But again, it requires you to actually have a real relationship where you're not walking on eggshells, where you're more invested in the human being than in the perception of having a diverse friend group. You are more invested in the human being than your own fragile ego, where you are more invested in this human being versus what you can get out of it.
But you know, the South Florida grift is I'm friends with the South Florida grift for white people and white Latinx people is look at me, I'm friends with the right Black women. That's the hustle in these streets. And here's right?
the ironic thing is, I'm never like, oh, look at me, I'm in a relationship with the right white women. Like, I mean, am I? Probably, I don't know, but like,
nah, you got the right powerful white women in your circle. You sure do.
But I'm not like, here's my list. Here's my Insta post. Here, I'm gonna add this comment real quick, even though you just posted. Like, it just doesn't. Is it real or not? Is it work or not?
So the 2020 grift now is like, not only am I going to show you the anti-racist books I'm reading, let me show you my anti-racist friend list, my anti-racist whatever. So it's just like, so this is where you start to feel ornamental. You start to feel like an accessory. And it's just like, you know, like we noticed that. Stop that. We notice it, stop that. And guess what? We're probably talking about you. And people know what time it is about you. And even other white people. Without
I've definitely definitely had somebody text me be like, so you want to explain what that was right there?
Because exactly, because even
doesn't smell right.
Because white people who are actually in the practice of anti-racism, white people who are actually practice reading and seeing white supremacy, know when they are in the presence of a white person who is being extractive of you. And because they love and care about us so much, what do? If they can't disrupt it in the moment, they come back to you and check in on your humanity and be like, I noticed that bullshit. How you feeling?
Right. Or let you in on the grift to say, like, if you did not see this, this is actually what that was. And it's like, and it also goes to, I don't want people to think that, oh, well, I mean, Krystina has 20 white friends. I need to find 20 Black. It is not about quantity. It is about quality. Okay?
Quality. Again, which is a divestment from white supremacy, because white supremacy is always capitalism. Right. It's always looking for us to extract and to build into whatever. And it's just like, even if you have, honestly speaking, if you are a white person, you have one quality good Black friend. First of all, can we talk about the fact that friendships are hard and we don't actually have literacy and training on how to have good, healthy platonic relationships, number one. And number two, when you add the element of race into it and there's different racial dynamics, we also don't have practice around how to be in good, right relationship with each other and those kind of things. So I say all of this to say, if you are a white person and you have one good Black friend, ooh, that's enough. That's enough. That's enough. Or if you are the white person right now who's watching and listening, you have quite a few Black friends, but all of those relationships are surface. All of those relationships are superficial and fake. Ask yourself why, and really challenge yourself. Can they be deepened? And if they can be deepened, how can you deepen them in a way where in which we are both meeting in the middle in regards to I see your humanity, you see my humanity, and we start to practice being vulnerable and being seen by each other and with each other.
And I think so when we were the convo before the convo, had us talking about this sense that we feel like we're still on the auction block. This ultimately because we lived in so I'm gonna actually take it a few steps back.
Yes, educate the people.
So one of the reasons why folks who are invested and believe in Black liberation are and should be anti-capitalist is because we were the capital. Literally, our physical body was the insurance policy, was the equity, was the guarantor to America and Western Europe. I mean, like point blank period. So
there was no U.S. Treasury. That thing was backed up by human bodies. Hello. Okay. Go ahead.
Okay. So if we go there, then we can see this issue of worth and value and investment in a very different lens. Okay. Because who we invest our time, talent, and treasure, y'all know I love to say my 3 things. Who we invest our time, talent, and treasure in reflects our values again.
Period.
So, do you value Black life or not? And what does that mean? That means, are you investing your time? And what we're really talking about is investing your time with Black people. People have been cash apping and donating, and I'm not turning that down. So like, this is in no way shade, but that is one methodology, right? The reparations model is real, valid, and happening. Y'all figured that out. Your talent, folks are uplifting Black voices, melanated voices, folks are hiring and doing the things. But the real crux of this conversation is, are you investing the time in Black people in your life? And we had to start with do you even have Black people in your life? Because that is a whole, we just dedicated 40 minutes to that. But now let's talk, it really is a conversation of who you're valuing or not. Because when you look at the Black people in your life who you may not have a real deep, authentic relationship with, and it may be one of those 3 things, it's not interchangeable. It's because, are you not valuing them? Are you not willing to put in the extra effort? And Black bodies are not, it's this weird dichotomy of basically, like we like to say, once we stopped working for free, we had no value. We built empires. We were so valuable that we built empires. Empires were built off of our labor and our physical bodies.
Right.
And yet once we were no longer enslaved,
right,
we were worthless.
Right.
And that shows up, and that's when I think of anti-Blackness, that is really, it is an issue of worth and value.
Yeah.
And we see that in disinvestment in our communities. We see that in stereotypes, in hiring, in who we see as beautiful or not, who we see as intelligent or not, who we think should be in positions of leadership or not, who we scholarship is valued or not.
Right? Who we think feelings can get hurt. Because I think you're beautifully putting this, you're saying this beautifully. What the things that have hurt me the most inside of my interracial friendships has been when people when you feel as if your humanity doesn't even register for this person, that something awful happened and people won't even ask you, well, are you okay? People won't even consider that perhaps you, for whatever reason, like people, like your heart can't break. And so that we all could be experiencing something traumatic collectively, but somehow I have to comfort you. And you know exactly what story I'm talking about, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, it's just like, God,
it's this dichotomy of being superhuman and subhuman at the same damn time.
At the same
never
damn time. Never human. Never
we are
human.
either superhuman or subhuman. And what makes us human? It is emotion. It is feeling. It is not just an intellectual, like complexity and neural pathways and complex organ systems and all the things. No, it is really our ability to feel and to express those feelings. And so by shutting that shit down, by erasing it, by not even acknowledging it, you are literally stripping people's humanity away, which is why confinement is particularly cruel. Knowing that human beings need other human beings, need to be in contact, need conversation. That is why solitary confinement is inhumane. And that is why
but white liberals are practicing a kind of solitary confinement, confining us in these very particular kind of ways. And so it's interesting because I wrote about this a while ago. It's just like, yeah, so we're all wearing masks. We're all physically distancing and in some instances socially distancing. But for a lot of white people, that's their normal everyday engagement with Blackness. They're always socially distancing. They're always physically distancing. They're always confining you to over there. And unless they're trying to extract your ideas, extract your talking points, extract your culture, extract your lingo, extract your whatever, there's never no real engagement in you as a person. Like, it's just like, it's like we notice the dehumanization. Obviously, as Black people, we notice. And on some level, you got to wonder, like, do the white people know that what they're engaging in is dehumanizing? It's a form of dehumanization. And do they even know how to get off that treadmill to stop it?
I honestly, it's as you can see my face, which, you know, I can't control my face. Like, I feel like, no, they don't know, because racism is so, and white supremacy is so insidious, so sneaky, so pervasive. Yeah. Its tentacles are like in everything that like people forget, and it's invisible.
Right.
And so that's why I want to say no, with exceptions of like there are clearly people who know what the hell they're doing.
Yeah, right? Because those people are in right relationship with Black people and non-Black people of color, and they're allowing. And here's the thing too: they create the space for the Black person and a non-Black person to call them in lovingly, and they don't have a freak out, right? And so I think about like the white women in my life who I really love and care about. When I have hard conversations with them, I don't know if they cry. They don't cry with me though. You know what I mean? They stay rooted in the conversation with me, and I'm sure maybe they call they white homegirl and have a cry session. But like, and again, like I'm thinking about one friend. Like I did have a hard conversation with her, and she did cry, and I didn't think her tears were not inappropriate. They were definitely appropriate for the level of intimacy that we have. But I'm just saying, it's like there's a way in which white folks want to collect Black people as friends. They want to publicize to the whole world that they're friends with Krystina, they're friends with Lucy, in a way that breeds a false sense of intimacy. But yet, when something casually happens, you can't say anything because not all the bars come up. And it's just like, so they literally create the conditions in which they always constantly keep you at bay. And they are the ones who are essentially orchestrating the friendship. We never have a say in how the friendship can go.
I wanted to dig into that more. And I feel like, well, we have many situations where we can dig into not only, but there is this. So my perfect example of anti-Blackness in interracial relationships, or it is when you fear conflict. I have literally had people tense up, cringe, back away like I'm about to beat them. Mind you, I've never beat anybody in my life. Like, because I am expressing an emotion of anger or of frustration or of disbelief or just simply setting a boundary.
God forbid a Black woman set a boundary. My God, I have a story about that I won't put out here on these internet streets till I'm ready. But my God forbid Black women have a boundary. Continue, child.
mean, it's like you are physically beating them with a verbal lashing is not a physical lashing, okay? Like, number one. Number two, conflict is not oppression. Like my friend Lucy taught me.
Hello, conflict is not abuse. Get the book, read the book, stop conflating conflict with abuse. That's the problem now.
And when you have a close relationship with somebody, there will be conflict, there will be disagreements, and you will hurt each other's feelings. But that does not mean that you get to play victim, that you are literally, if a passerby saw the situation, would call the police on me because of your dramatical reaction to a conversation. Like, it's not okay. And guess what that teaches me? That I can't trust you, I am not safe with you, and we are not friends.
And also, and here's the thing, and here's the gag, and this is where especially millennial white women, millennial white Latinx women, this is where they struggle the most with. Like, it's easy to see Amy Cooper's carrying, but they don't see how they are carrying, and they don't see how they really have to divest from this understanding of their femininity and their whiteness being rooted in victimhood, because they constantly think, so it's just like the myth of the violent, predatory Black man that's gonna rape me. The opposite of that is a violent, predatory Black woman who's gonna
be angry at,
who's gonna sass me, who's gonna
sass me to death. I'm like,
who's gonna sass me to death
from sass.
But fam, I don't think, to a certain degree, yo, I have seen white women have made me feel a way. It's like some of them can't help it. I almost feel like it is so deep in them. Even the most agile, anti-racist white woman, the first impulse is to go to the, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's just like, oh, it's just, yo,
literal gasp.
Can I talk
the
about
amount of times I have gotten a shocked face and a literal gasp and a cringe, and I'm sitting here being like, I had to stop feeling my feelings because I'm like, is this really happening? Like, I literally had to stop.
Krystina, have you ever thought about it in that situation? I wish the world responded to my hurt feelings like that. I wish that all I had to do was cry and gasp, and then everyone would stop, and everyone would freeze, and everyone would be like, oh, you okay? You all right? And so that's seductive. I get why white women go to that all the time. And what it creates
it's powerful.
It's oh my God, it's very powerful. People have gotten killed for it. And what it creates is a hostage situation. They're the victim, and you are the crazed person. You are the terrorist because you dare to have a feeling and you dare to invite them to interrogate their behaviors. It's so dehumanizing. I don't know how many, girl, let me stop. Go ahead, girl.
No, I mean, that is exactly how I feel. And it's like, well, then damn, were any of you my friends? Like, no. I had to, no. In the past couple of months, I have revisited friendships in my mind and realized how pervasive, how anti-Blackness has shaped me as a human. And it's been deep. And I realized how much of how I function has been in survival mode because of people Amy Coopering me. Oh. And whether it be in friendship groups, whether it be in volunteer organizations, whether it be in the workplace, whether it be, just out in public. And that is the cost, right? So we're not having this conversation to just vent. Like, I talk to Lucy all the time. I don't need to be on Facebook Live to have this conversation.
Right.
The point is that these have real life consequences. Mm-hmm. How you are being emotionally violent to your friends actually have real life consequences for them.
And this is what we know is like Ruth Wilson Gilmore, the abolitionist, the geographer, has a definition of racism that I absolutely love. And she ends the sentence by saying premature death. And what happens is these if someone's constantly, you're in these relationships, you're in these volunteer groups, you're at these jobs, you're on these boards, you're on these scholarship committees, and people are constantly Amy Coopering you, that is causing weathering. That is causing your internal organs to age faster. That is causing health problems.
Anxiety.
And that is causing premature death in you, because you have to mammy everyone. No one's checking in on your humanity. You can't tell nobody if they hurt your feelings because they're gonna die. Meanwhile, who's actually dying, whose life is actually being cut short is yours. You're dying slowly and no one cares. See, what white folks don't understand is that white supremacy it's either gonna kill Black people fast, like George Floyd, or slow with hypertension, sugar, as our people call it, and all this other stuff. And so this is how these racists, right? Because they're not race disparities, they're racist health disparities caused by I'm constantly having to navigate and mind these racist situations. And even when it's in a casual setting, I can't even tell someone like, hey, you should rethink that, or that thing you posted was wild, without it not being, it has to be I have to feel like I'm going before Congress to testify. Like, that shit is
with
whack.
the receipts, with the footnotes, with some people verifying the testimony,
video and picture timestamp. It's just like, this is how Black people just are dying from premature death, because it's always a thing. And all you have to, why it's a thing? Because you refuse, because if Black lives matter, then Black feelings have to matter, Black descent has to matter, my interior Black life has to matter. Like, there are levels to Black life mattering. And so for the liberal folks, for the progressive, because again, we had this conversation not too long ago, like, progressive. Aren't we supposed to be progressing somewhere? So
to something.
Progressing towards
this
something.
ain't it.
Right. So if you, especially the South Florida white folks, especially the South Florida Latinx folks, what are you progressing to? What's the end result?
What does liberation look like?
What does liberation look like? And how will you know this? And if you cannot deal with Black people, Black women in particular, Black femmes being disappointed with you, and you cannot create space in your life to hold that disappointment, man, child, which is why we have the society and the communities that we have. But everyone will tell you they're not racist. Everyone will tell you Black Lives Matter. But yet, we're constantly having conversations about the same white people doing the same things. That's it.
I mean, are there any? So I know it's. I can't even follow that up with anything. I'm just gonna look at the chat real quick.
Okay, look at the chat.
Okay, so Anna Lucia says, I get that too as an Indigenous woman when I've tried to set boundaries amongst white women. I see Tashana saying, asking for us to be on committees for free, but won't hire us.
Come on now. Listen. Because again, because white folks love Black women's ideas for their comms, for their talking points, for whatever. But when it's time to elevate us into grants, right? When it's time to give us real positions of leadership, both paid and unpaid, guess who never gets it? Girl, what else the people said in the comments? Thank you, Tashana.
Hold on. We are not allowed to have boundaries. Let's see what else. Somebody said, I know who my real white friends are. People act like they can't identify friendships.
And you know how in the movie Mean Girls, which is an iconic movie, judge your auntie. Iconic. Judge your auntie if you feel a kind of way, because I love that movie. That's one of my favorite movies. You know how they have a burn book? How they have the burn book?
Yes.
We got a white woman burn book. We all know who the white women are. We all know who the white women are, and it's on a spectrum, right? The ones we know, like, no, don't talk to her, don't do this, don't whatever. But the other one who's like, like,
here are the parameters with which you operate.
Exactly. And we know exactly. So again, it's just like, yes, sis, you are probably in someone's burn book. You should really do something about that. Again.
And you think that you're not. So here's the thing. And this is also, I mean, I feel like this applies to racists, but also just folks who are actively upholding white supremacy in their lives and their free time, like they're getting paid to do it. It's like people notice there are ramifications for your actions, and you may not see it, but you don't even know what you're missing out on because people have already been put on notice.
Girl, so, that is a word. That is a
you
word.
You may think you're winning at life,
word.
But you're actually not.
Man, you know how many white women who I am like in various levels of relationship with, where I'm like, you know what? Your life, your business, your whatever would be so much better if you could just deepen in your anti-racism. But nah, you want to remain superficial, and that's why you have superficial what? Returns.
I mean, so this has been super juicy. This has, I feel like, come full circle. And come full circle. And I feel like we need to do more.
I mean, you know, I'm feeling like I'm hyped. I feel good. And I mean, should we come back next week for the people?
I don't know. I mean, I think they're ready.
Okay.
I think there's so much to delve into.
Oh, honey, and we in these quarantines.
And we're in these quarantines. We are mobily accessible since we do not need to go places. Thank God. Point of privilege. And I don't know how you're feeling, but I'm really tired of the keyboard activism and the thought pieces by non-Black people trying to be telling people how to move through this moment. Like, you don't know how to move through this moment. What makes you qualified to move through this moment? Who are you to tell people how to be in right relationship with Black people? I just, where are the receipts? Where are the qualifications? Do you have I mean, there are white folks who have decades of experience being in right relationship with folks, and your fans on the internet are not it.
And they're never the ones up front trying to lecture anybody. Those are my favorite kind of white people. White people who just are content with being white people in the background. They're content with just, how can I support you? How can I be a real friend? And they're not trying to be some savior or guide to anybody on these interwebs. So like, let me shut my mouth, because this anti-racist moment is very interesting, and low-key, I feel like anti-racism is turning into a grift. But you know, that could be a topic for another day. That could be another
topic, because my eyes are wide open on the grifters that are proliferating in this moment. And just like you said in a post earlier today, don't be bamboozled and hoodwinked. Diversity and inclusion is not what? Anti-racism. Thank you. So as you pay these thousands of dollars to people to white people to do a diversity and inclusion training, I would just like you to investigate their credentials. Also knowing that you are not signing up to be an active member of the racial justice crew just because you did a DI training.
Yeah, quotas. Yeah, getting non-white bodies rather to assimilate into a burning house, to assimilate into a plantation. I mean, it meets a quota, but it does nothing. So, but again, yeah, that's like the whole anti-racist diversity and inclusion grifter lane, girl, that's a whole nother conversation. And I feel as if, because of who I am and the kind of work that I do, anything I say might be looked at as I'm being a hater. But it's just like, nah, fam, because like, this is my real life. Know the difference,
right? Like they're definitely, just like when there was the proliferation of Black squares, and then folks, there was a whole hashtag about like, show me the receipts, basically, on like, but what is your board composition? What is your employee composition? What is your pay differential? What are the actual racial demographic breakdown? Then you saw who actually could back it up to at least respond. The fact that like we can't even get transparency on that level, Kylie Jenner, like, because it was specifically on beauty brands initially.
Right.
And so you can't be like Black Lives Matter and then have no Black lives in your company.
Girl, again, we done gave the people a full hour. What you think? We'll be back. We'll let the people know.
I think we'll be back, and I'm curious to know what folks want to hear.
Yeah, message us, leave a comment, leave whatever. Y'all know how to get in contact with us.
I really want to know. So definitely, I see some their hearts going up in the